A vibrant and warm life, identical to what has been and is happening on Earth, has been found on Europa, an alien world that appears dead on the surface. Europa is a giant moon orbiting Jupiter, but NASA scientists have long believed its icy crust is merely the outer surface. Below lies an ocean teeming with life. Numerous studies have been conducted from the flyby missions, while also serving to support those missions in return, including a study recently published in the journal Zano of Galapagos Research Planets. Jet Propulsion Laboratory, the University of Oxford, UK, and Hokkaido University, Japan, modeled existing data to explain the rotation mechanism of the icy shell covering the surface of Jupiter. According to Dr. Hamis Hay from the University of Oxford, comparing images from the Europa Clipper 2T spacecraft with previous data from the Galileo and Voyager missions allows scientists to examine the positions of the ice surfaces and determine whether they have shifted or changed in any way. The Europa Clipper is a dedicated spacecraft designed to explore Jupiter's moon, Europa. NASA is scheduled to launch the vessel in 2024 with a primary mission, to hunt for evidence of extraterrestrial life. Meanwhile, the Galileo spacecraft was tasked with exploring Jupiter, while the Voyager probe was launched to study the outermost reaches of the solar system. Scientists concluded that this rotational motion is driven by the dynamics of the subsurface ocean beneath the surface, and is also evidence that this subsurface ocean has many characteristics very similar to Earth's oceans. These studies have shown that the ocean on Europa's moon is heated from within its interior. Through the process of being heated internally by tidal forces and radioactive decay within the rocky core, while being cooled externally by the frozen surface. The new model indicates that this will inevitably lead to convection, a process in which heat is transported by the upward and downward movement of warm and cold water currents. These water streams form interwoven ocean currents, flowing in both eastern and western directions. At the ocean's surface, frictional forces from ocean currents act upon tectonic plates, causing them to undergo rotational movement. Conversely, the rotational motion of the ice shell also helps to direct the currents in the subsurface ocean, causing them to flow in an east-west or west-east direction. This discovery not only astounds the scientific community regarding how a subsurface ocean can influence the icy crust of similar moons and planets, but also provides us with deeper insights into the very nature of these hidden oceans beneath the frozen shell. This also helps to further clarify the geological history of Europa, thereby guiding NASA and its partners in the journey to explore this world. A journey expected to potentially find extraterrestrial life for the first time. This will also serve as an ideal foundation for researching other ocean worlds, including the multitude of similar structured exoplanets that NASA has discovered. Rare images of the surface of Venus. Venus, also known as the morning star, possesses an extremely harsh climate and is the hottest planet in the solar system. Landing a spacecraft on this planet's surface was already a feat in itself, so the spacecraft could only survive for a very short time after touchdown. Consequently, human understanding of this planet remains very limited to this day. While spacecraft are sending back increasingly more images of Mars, high-quality photographs of Venus's surface remain extremely limited. In fact, the clearest photographs of Venus's surface were taken in the early 1980s by Soviet probes. In the field of space exploration, 4 decades is a very long time. The distance between Venus and Earth is not fixed but varies depending on the relative positions of the two planets in their orbits around the Sun. Venus is an average distance of about 41 million kilometers from Earth. However, at its closest approach, Venus can be only about 38 million kilometers from Earth. At its farthest distance, it can reach up to 261 million kilometers. Besides its harsh climate, Venus also attracts attention due to its nearly similar size to Earth and its primarily rocky composition. Therefore, Venus is often described as Earth's twin sister. Humans have undertaken many missions to explore Venus, but the majority of them have ended in failure. Of the first 9 missions, only the 1962 flight using NASA's Mariner 2 probe, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, was successful. At that time, the Mariner 2 spacecraft flew approximately 32,000 kilometers from the surface of Venus to collect and survey the planet's fundamental data. The first spacecraft to land on the surface of Venus was in 1966. Venera 3 probe crashed onto the planet. In 1970, the Venera 7 spacecraft became the first to successfully land on the surface of Venus and continued to transmit data back to Earth. 2 years later, the Soviet Union launched the Venera 8 spacecraft, which landed on the surface of Venus. In 1975, the Venera 9 spacecraft also successfully completed a similar mission. The Soviet Union launched a total of 9 spacecraft to Mars, and the last of these, Vega 2, landed successfully in 1984. NASA has conducted numerous missions to explore Venus, notably the Pioneer Venus 2 spacecraft launched in 1978 with the mission to study the planet's atmosphere. To date, no spacecraft from this agency has successfully landed on the surface of Venus. Due to its extremely harsh atmosphere, the clearest images of Venus's surface were taken in the early 1980s. By the Venera 9, Venera 10, Venera 13, and Venera 14 spacecraft. Beyond black and white photographs and colorized images, the space enthusiast community also contributes numerous other processed images, with the horizon adjusted to be level. The atmosphere of Venus, with its high pressure and extreme heat, creates an incredibly harsh climate, causing the planet's surface temperature to range from 437 to 482 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, the average temperature on the surface of Mars is -63 degrees Celsius, which makes it easier for engineers to design spacecraft. The atmospheric pressure on Venus is about 90 times greater than that on Earth, so even if it weren't burned up, a spacecraft would be crushed. Venera 13 currently holds the record for the longest operational time on the surface of Venus, with a total duration of 127 minutes. Its extremely dense atmosphere makes it impossible to observe its surface from outer space, at least in the visible spectrum. Therefore, the only way to see this planet, although it was unable to land on the surface, NASA's Mariner 2 became the first spacecraft to fly past another planet beyond Earth. During its brief 42-minute survey, it transmitted crucial data back to scientists, enabling them to discover many characteristics of Venus, including its extremely hot atmosphere. NASA is developing the Da Vinci